Are you worried about losing your TDIU permanent and total rating veterans? Right? In this live stream, I'm going to break down the facts behind VA reductions, when benefits are truly at risk, and why most veterans with permanent and total and with temporary disability, individual unemployability can feel confident that their rating, maybe that's your rating, is secure, right? I want you to learn the key protections, what could trigger a review, and practical tips to safeguard the benefits that you have fought for. If you are receiving total disability based on individual unemployability, better known as TDIU, you might be wondering how secure your benefits are. So, can TDIU permanent and total be taken away? The short answer, yes, but only in circumstances and only in certain circumstances, and I'm going to break that down. Understanding how the VA handles TDIU benefits can help you protect your compensation and prepare for what's ahead, veterans. So let me break it down for you, okay? The TDIU pays at the 100% VA disability rate, even if your combined rating is less than 100%, veterans. If you can't maintain substantially gainful employment due to a service connected condition, you could qualify for temporary disability on unemployability. The TDIU can become permanent if your conditions are not expected to improve, but even permanent TDIU can be reduced in certain cases, such as fraud, or if you sustain gainful full-time work for 12 months. Okay. TDIU benefits, which I'm going to go over. The benefits include CHAMPVA for dependents, employee assistance, and access to other VA programs when rated permanent and total. So, some frequently asked questions about TDIU. Okay. Let me take a look at this. What is TDIU? Okay. TDIU is based on individual unemployability, or TDIU. It allows you, the veteran, to receive VA compensation at the 100% disability rate, even if your combined VA rating is below 100%. If your service connected condition prevents you from securing and maintaining substantially gainful employment, in addition, one of these must be true. You must have at least one service connected disability rated at 60% or more disabling, and or you must have two or more service connected disabilities with at least one rated at 40% or more disabling, and a combined rating of 70% or more, veterans. Even with a lower rating, TDIU might be possible if your condition puts you in the hospital frequently, but you got to be able to prove that. You need to submit the right medical evidence, the right statement, right lay statements, buddy statements, all of those things, medical doctors, letters, and everything that you need. Okay. The VA defines substantially gainful employment, very important here, veterans, as competitive work that pays above the federal poverty level and is comparable to what non disabled workers earn in the same job locally. Okay. Marginal jobs or sheltered work environments generally don't count against TDIU eligibility. Okay, very important to understand. How long does TDIU last? TDIU can last for the rest of your life. However, very important to note, it depends on your condition and whether the VA believes you're still unable to work or not. It's not automatically permanent, something very important to understand. Whenever you are first granted, it's again not automatically permanent. Instead, it's treated as non permanent and monitored through periodic review, veterans. During these reviews, what is the VA looking for? What are raters looking for, right? What is the review board looking for? The VA looks for signs that your condition has improved enough for you to return to substantially gainful employment, veterans. Okay. When does your temporary disability, individual unemployability become permanent? TDIU can become permanent when the VA determines that your service connected conditions are unlikely to improve. So, signs your TDIU may be permanent. The VA states it's permanent in your decision letter. You need to read that rating decision letter, one of the most important documents that you get. You're no longer scheduled for routine medical exams, or you become eligible for Chapter 35 DEA benefits. Permanent TDIU, very important here, makes your benefits more secure, but not completely protected from reduction. Okay, very important to understand that. Here's the big question, right? This is what this live stream is for. Can TDIU permanent and total be taken away? Yes, TDIU permanent and total can be taken away, but only under specific conditions. And I want you to be careful. I want you to understand this so that this does not happen to you. The VA can reduce or revoke your benefits if you maintain substantially gainful employment for 12 consecutive months. And if you said that you couldn't, but now you do, if your condition significantly improves, making you employable, okay, the VA needs to be able to prove that. Or the original award was based on fraud or clear error or a Q error on the VA's part. Okay. The fraud is saying that you can't do something and the VA finds out that you can. Okay. I can't do anything because of my back. I can't lift more than 20 pounds. You let somebody know during your CMP exam, and then later it comes out that you're lifting 300 pounds and it's all over Facebook and Instagram and everything else. Yet you just told the CMP examiner that you couldn't lift over 20 or 30 pounds. That's fraud right there. Okay. You're lying about something. That's what we mean by fraud. That's what you cannot do. Minimizing things is a whole different story. Lying about things is a whole different situation. Don't lie about anything. Don't minimize about anything. Okay. Let the VA know how you're impacted at your worst, totally, occupationally, socially, relationally, how your family's impacted as well too. Okay. Important to understand here, if you've had TDIU for 20 years or more, it's protected under the VA's 20-year rule, meaning it can't be reduced unless fraud is proven. Very important to understand, veterans. Okay. How long does your VA unemployability last? It typically lasts indefinitely for the most part, as long as you're unable to secure and maintain substantially gainful employment. Very important to understand. You can work marginal jobs like part-time or below poverty level income, but full-time, well-paying work could trigger a review. Very important to understand. Another thing that could trigger a review is if you file another claim and you're already at TDIU 100% permanent and total, and you say, I want to try for ED and get special monthly compensation K. You file it, then they could go back and look. They could do some digging, a little bit of review, and they find out maybe you've been working for 12 consecutive months or something of that nature, and it looks like you've gotten better. Then that could trigger a review. They could send you for a CMP exam, then propose reduction. Okay. So you need to be very careful of that. What age does VA unemployability stop? TDIU doesn't automatically end at a certain age. You can receive TDIU into retirement, even past age 65, as long as you, the veteran, remain unemployable due to your service-connected conditions. Important to understand that. How long does a TDIU claim take? Well, listen, that varies. That depends on, are you at risk of homelessness? Are you homeless? What's your living situation, right? Is this a dire need? Is this a dire emergency? What's the severity of your condition? How quickly the VA collects medical and work history evidence plays a factor, whether your application is complete and well documented. Everything, that the VA needs. If you front end everything, right, expect the results on the back end. Know what's in your claim, right? You can check your claim status at any time at va.gov. Make sure you monitor that. Right now, 90 to about 131 days, stuff is going through pretty quick. Okay. So that's where we're at right now as of September 2025, the making of this live stream. We're at about 90 to 130 days, depending on what you got going on, depending on your claim, depending on how many things that you filed for. So TDIU can vary depending on the complexity and what you're filing for. Are you at risk of homelessness or not? Is your medical situation putting you in limbo, life, death, something of that nature? Then it can go through a little bit quicker. You can get frontline. Your claim can be red flagged. Okay. Very, very important. So some of the TDIU benefits that go along with this are more than just the compensation rate of 100% veterans. Okay. If your TDIU is permanent and total, you may also qualify for CHAMPVA. That's health care coverage for you and your eligible family members. This covers medical care. It covers prescriptions and specialized treatment. Okay. The VRE, so the Veterans Readiness and Employment Services, to help overcome work barriers and build new skills, okay, for you as a veteran, okay? Access to other benefits, including education assistance and potential property tax relief. Again, that's state dependent wherever you live it, okay? So TDIU, while it's permanent and total status, does offer strong protections. It can still be taken away depending. Fraud. If you open up a can of worms by filing a new claim and you really shouldn't, right? If you're found capable of working again, or a clear and unmistakable error, or if fraud is discovered. With that said, most veterans retain TDIU benefits for life. The majority do, especially if their conditions, maybe that's you, are stable, severe, and continue on, right? So you need to stay informed. You need to stay up to date. You need to avoid substantially gainful employment if you're on TDIU right now. That is the key to maintaining your benefits long term. Okay. Very, 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 very important. What is considered substantially gainful employment? Okay. It is a fancy term for a job that pays above the poverty threshold and is competitive. Okay. That's what substantial gainful employment is. I'm actually going to throw that in the comments of this live stream. If you're just tuning in, welcome. We are talking about TDIU, what's substantially gainful employment, right? How can you be reduced? How does this work? Okay. Very, very, very important. Very important to understand that. Okay. The VA says that it suggests a living wage. Okay. Now listen, you can also have a protected work environment as well. For a job to be competitive, it can't be in a protected work environment. In other words, it can't be guaranteed. A family business is a good example of what the VA considers a protected work environment. If you're employed by your family's business, you're probably not going to be fired, which means the job is not competitive. Protected work environment also means that you're treated differently than other employees, but receive the same pay and benefits. For example, you might be excused from certain parts of your job requirements, or you might be less productive than other employees without any consequences. You could also be given a pass for certain behavioral issues. Very important to understand. All of these examples described that I just mentioned are a protected work environment. What is the poverty threshold? Your poverty threshold depends on how many members are in your household and their age. Okay, in each year, right? The U.S. Census Bureau, right? They put out the poverty lines for the U.S. below in your age. Okay, the number, right, describes basically the annual income poverty line for the family of whatever your size is. Okay, a job paying at or above that number is considered substantially gainful employment if it's also competitive as well. A job paying below the poverty level line is not. Very, very important. Okay, if you can't keep substantially gainful employment, I want to be clear, because of a service connected disability, you might be eligible for TDIU. I do want to mention, and I mentioned this before, I got a little backlash, but TDIU, if you're filing for it, be careful. It could trigger other exams. I'm not saying not to do it, but I'd be very careful and I'd tread lightly on it. It would be a last resort option. If it was me, a lot of people are filing for things and they're being asked to go for a reexamination. Okay. Again, the TDIU allows the VA to pay you, the veteran, at 100% monthly rate, even if you don't have a disability rated at 100%. In addition to being unable to maintain work to be eligible for TDIU, you must also have one disability rated at 60% or higher, or a combined rating of 70% with one disability rated at 40% or higher, and you cannot have been dishonorably discharged. Okay. Marginal employment is any job that doesn't meet the substantial gainful employment definition. Marginal employment doesn't affect your eligibility for TDIU. In fact, if the VA awards you TDIU, you can still work a marginally gainful job. Very important to understand that. Okay. Very, very important to understand that. Okay. So I really hope this video helps you guys out. Make sure that you get the help that you need. Make sure that you stay in the fight. Make sure that you don't give up, right? If this is a benefit that you need, be aware of that. If this is a benefit that you have, be aware of that as well too, veterans. Look, just trying to protect you, just trying to help you, trying to let you know what to do and what not to do so that you are in the absolute best position. Very, very important to understand that. Okay. I put my email in here. Let me know if you guys need anything. Man, thank you guys all for your service. I hope that this live stream helps you out. Stay in the fight. Don't give up. We care about you and keep on going. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.